or tuning in the sun. This is TFM, get ready to rock. From AM to PM, come on, let's talk.
TFM 95.4.
Let's
Live on
talk.
TFM and the Live on TFM and the TFM Facebook page. This is the live feed of TTV. Let's talk.
Welcome to the Midday Update. These are the top headlines from our newsroom today. Oman's health minister visits Nizwa Hospital. COVID-19 impact measured across 7 sectors in the Sultanate. Airports, airlines in Oman all prepared to resume operations. VAT implementation to boost Oman's revenue by 400 billion Omani riyals. Oman's Labour Ministry announces job vacancies in the country. Ban extended on flights operating to and from India. Fuel prices for September announced in the Sultanate. COVID-19 cases rise in Asia Pacific as India's tally surpasses 3.6 million mark. New Zealand reports 9 new cases of COVID-19 as Auckland releases restrictions. Turkish economy sharply contracts amid COVID-19 outbreak. These were the top headlines of the day. Let's see how the weather in the country looks like in our weather update.
Hello, Mantra Bose with your daily dose of weather. It's a sunny day outside the TFM studio in Al Khair, but before we give you the weather updates, here is the daily tip. Now, we all know the importance of antioxidants in our diet. But did you also know that including antioxidants to your facial skincare routine is also a great idea? Invest in a good quality serum and you can see the difference on a hot and dry summer day because it will keep your skin looking fresh, hydrated and glowing. With that, let's step inside the studio and talk a little bit more about weather. Oman Meteorology and Public Authority for Civil Aviation have issued an alert indicating that there will be a reduction in horizontal visibility during rain and fog. Apart from this, we've got partly cloudy to cloudy skies along the Dhofar coastline and adjoining mountains with the possibility of a slight drizzle. Along the Oman Sea coastline, there is the possibility of a slight haze while the rest of the Sultanate will enjoy clear skies. With that, let's take a look at what the temperatures are going to be like in the rest of the governorates.
Oman's largest online supermarket now has no minimum order limit. From grocery to household items, Rafiq has everything that you want. Enjoy worry-free shopping with over 8,000 products to choose from and get it delivered straight to your doorstep. Rafiq, you order, we deliver.
Welcome back to TTV. You're watching Midday Update. Now, before we get into the detail, let's see how the COVID-19 situation in the country stands as of today. The Ministry of Health on Tuesday, September 1st, announced the registration of 4 death cases in the country. This has taken the total toll of death cases in the Sultanate to 689. The officials at the Ministry of Health has also extended their deepest condolences to the family of the deceased. The Ministry of Health official has also announced the registration of 206 new coronavirus cases in the country today. The total cases in the country has now touched 85,928, including 81,024 recoveries and 689 deaths, according to the officials at the Ministry of Health. The information provided by the health officials also said in the past 24 hours, 214 recoveries were reported. The ministry has urged everyone to adhere to social distancing instructions issued by the Supreme Committee and the Ministry of Health, as well as staying at home and not going out unnecessarily. The Minister of Health has visited Nizwa Hospital in Ad-Dakhliya Governorate recently. A statement issued online by the Ministry of Health said, His Excellency Dr. Ahmed bin Muhammad Al Saidi, Minister of Health, visited Nizwa Hospital in Ad-Dakhliya Governorate in order to review the progress of work, the efforts of the hospital and the medical groups to assist in confronting the COVID-19 pandemic. In order to review the progress of work, the efforts of the hospital and the medical groups to assist in confronting the COVID-19 pandemic. Also the curative and preventive services that provided to the injured and reviewers. The impact of COVID-19 in the Sultanate has been felt differently across 7 sectors in Oman, according to a news research paper. The paper is jointly written by Dr. Hisham Magd and Dr. Vinkat Ramraj Tumiki of the Modern College of Business and Science, which is known as MCBS, Faculty of Business and Economics, and looks at the impact of COVID-19 across the real estate, tourism and hospitality, manufacturing, education, logistics and transport, aviation, and agriculture and fisheries. Titled A Snapshot of Socioeconomic Impact of COVID-19 on the Sultanate of Oman, Measures and Coping Strategies, the paper also identifies how private and public organizations involved in these activities took steps to mitigate the worst of the pandemic. However, they add some sectors, much like they have been impacted all over the world, such as tourism and aviation, have been far more affected by the pandemic than others. The logistics sector has contributed 1.91 billion Omani riyals in 2019, which is 3.73% of the GDP, said Dr. Magd, who is the faculty's head and associate dean of quality and accreditation. He continued saying that such an attractive sector has been affected by COVID-19 due to restrictions on the movement of people and goods. Despite the negative effects of COVID-19, the performance of Omani ports has been positive, with around 2,500 vessels visiting Omani ports in the first quarter of 2020. It is only local trade and not international trade, as Omani maritime trade is moderately impacted by COVID-19. Oman's higher education sector is mildly affected by COVID-19, as all higher educational institutions have transitioned to function online, added Tumiki, an assistant professor at MCBS. The Government Communication Center has decided to suspend the national program for postgraduate studies for a year, considering the ongoing global COVID-19 pandemic. Schools in Oman have reduced fees as a show of support to the parents, which has totaled approximately 1.1 million Omani riyals, which could affect their future operations. Now from our local desk, airlines, airports in Oman have announced their readiness to operations once flights are given the green light in future. Oman Air, the Sultanate's national carrier, has announced on Monday that its planes and staff across the country are ready to resume flight operations. A statement issued by Oman Air said, "Our planes and people are ready, and Oman's airports are ready too. When we can fly, we will provide safe, careful service to our guests, along with all travel-related information and requirements." Meanwhile, on the ground, stringent measures are laid out across Oman's airports to ensure the safety of all passengers, staff, and visitors. Among the steps being taken are precautions to disinfect passenger bags carried or transported on board planes. Major Khalid Al-Batashi of the Royal Oman Police said in an interview on Oman Radio, "There are internal procedures in place in keeping with the plans of the Royal Oman Police and the health and safety protocols issued by the National Civil Aviation Authority." This plan has been circulated to all ROP departments such as passport control, customs, and security. It deals with the security requirements for all bags or packages passengers might have, he added. He also continued saying that it is also prohibited for any member of airport staff to deal with any bag unless it has been first disinfected. Oman Air had previously extended its call center hours to deal with queries passengers might have ahead of the reopening or prior to boarding any of the special flights organized by the airline. The company said in a statement online that our dedicated call center team is available from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. local time to assist you with your travel requirements. Earnings from value-added tax known as VAT are estimated to bring an additional 400 million Omani riyals per annum to Oman's economy. The country's Majlis Ash-Shura will today discuss the draft of the VAT law as part of the process required to make it into law. A statement from the office of Ali Nasser Hamad Al-Mahrouki, the Secretary General of the Shura Council, said, the Council will devote its session to discuss, as a matter of urgency, the report of the Joint Committee between the State and the Shura Council regarding the articles subject to the discrepancy between the two councils on the draft of value-added tax law referred by the Council of Ministers. In this context, Dr. Ruwaish Al-Mahrabi, a member of the Economic Committee of the State Council, told Al-Shabiba, Times of Oman's sister Arabic publication, that the committee has reviewed the draft VAT law and cleared the articles which needed review. The community would now not be negatively affected by the law, as there are parallel programs to mitigate any potential impacts. He added that the VAT law is applicable in nearly all countries, with the exception of a few, which are yet to be implemented this. Earlier studies have shown that the revenue from implementation of the law would amount to 400 million Omani riyals. The State Council agrees with the Majlis Ash-Shura that certain criteria must be met before implementing the law, including the presence of the correct environment to put this into practice, said Al-Mahrabi. The decision to bring VAT into Oman and 5 other Gulf Cooperation Council member countries was taken by the Supreme Council of the GCC at its 36th session, which was held in December 2015. According to the decision, all 6 countries are to impose a 5% VAT on all imports and sales of goods and services. The Ministry of Labour in the Sultanate has announced job vacancies and job opportunities in both government and private sectors on Monday 31st August, which will be valid till 13th September 2020. A statement issued online by the ministry said, the Ministry of Labour announces the availability of job vacancies in the 2 sectors, government and private, starting from Monday, August 31st, 2020 until Sunday, September 13, 2020. To view the vacancies, visit the website jobs.nce.gov.om/jobs, and for inquiries, please contact the call center at 800-77575 according to the statement issued by the Ministry of Labour. The ban on international flights to and from India has been extended till September 30th, 2020, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation said in a circular issued on Monday. However, international scheduled flights may be allowed on selected routes by the competent authority on a case-to-case basis, according to the statement by the DGCA. Now, fuel prices for September in the country has been announced by the Ministry of Energy and Minerals on Monday. An official from the Ministry of Energy and Minerals has confirmed to Times of Oman that the fuel prices for September 2020 have been announced, and they are: M95 is at 194 paisa per litre compared to 200 paisa per litre in August. M91 is at 183 paisa per litre compared to 189 paisa per litre in August. Lastly, diesel at 215 paisa per litre compared to 225 paisa per litre last month. It's time for a quick commercial break, but stay tuned as we have more updates coming your way from our international desk.
Oman's largest online supermarket now has no minimum order limit. From grocery to household items, Rafiq has everything that you want. Enjoy worry-free shopping with over 8,000 products to choose from and get it delivered straight to your doorstep. Rafiq, you order, we deliver.
Welcome back to TTV. You're watching Midday Update. And now from our international desk. Asia Pacific countries are still facing a growing pandemic of the COVID-19 as India reported over 70,000 daily cases for 5 consecutive days. India's tally rose to 3,621,245 as the death toll rose to 64,469, showed the latest data released by the Health Ministry. As many as 78,512 new cases and 971 deaths were recorded over the past 24 hours across the country. India will enter the Unlock 4 with effect from today. Fresh guidelines to be followed during Unlock 4 were issued on Saturday. According to the new guidelines announced, schools will remain shut through September, though students of 9 to 12 grades have been allowed to approach their teachers at schools for guidance. Metro rail services would be allowed to start from September 7th in a phased manner, and public functions or other congregations would be allowed with a seating of 100 persons from September 21st. The number of confirmed cases in the Philippines surged to 220,819 after the country's Department of Health reported 3,446 new daily cases on Monday. The Department of Health said that the number of recoveries surged to 157,562 after it reported 165 more patients have survived the disease. In terms of death cases, 38 more patients have died from the disease in Philippines, bringing the death toll to 3,558. Indonesia reported 2,743 new cases, bringing the total number of the cases in the country to 174,796, with the death toll adding by 74 and bringing to 7,417, the country's health ministry said on Monday. According to the ministry, 1,774 more people were discharged from hospitals, bringing the total number of recovered patients to 125,959. Bangladesh reported more than 2,100 new COVID-19 cases and 33 new deaths on Monday, making the tally at nearly 313,000 and total deaths at 4,281, the Directorate General of Health Services said. According to the figures reported by the DGHS under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in Bangladesh, the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in the country reached 312,996, including 2,174 new cases on Monday. Now, South Korea reported 248 more cases on Monday, raising the total number of infections to 19,947. The number of confirmed cases for the past 18 days reached 5,177, owing to infections in Seoul and its surrounding Gyeonggi province. Lastly, Myanmar reported 12 more locally transmitted COVID-19 cases on Monday morning, bringing the number of infections to 787 in total, according to a statement from the Ministry of Health and Sports. New Zealand reported 9 new cases of COVID-19 on Monday as the largest city, Auckland, relaxed restrictions but required mask wearing on public transport. Among the 9 new cases, 4 are in managed isolation facilities and 5 are in the community, according to the Ministry of Health of the country. Of the 4 imported cases, 3 females, 1 in her 30s, 1 in her 20s, and a child arrived from India on August 22nd and all tested negative around day 3rd of their stay in managed isolation. They were each retested as a contact of a previously reported case and subsequently returned a positive result, a ministry statement said. The 4th person who tested positive on Monday was a woman in her 30s who arrived from India on August 27, it said. The 5 new confirmed community cases are all clearly epidemiologically linked to the Auckland cluster, according to the ministry. 3 cases are linked to a church in Auckland. The other 2 cases are both household contacts of 2 separate previously reported cases, it said. There are 128 people linked to the community cluster who have been transferred to the Auckland quarantine facility, which includes 85 people who have tested positive for COVID-19 and their household contacts, it said. There are also 15 previously reported cases who are considered to have recovered on Monday. With the 9 new cases, the total number of active cases in New Zealand now stands at 131. Of those, 24 are imported cases in managed isolation facilities and 107 are community cases. The total number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 in New Zealand after the new confirmed cases that came in on Monday now stands at 1,387, which is the number reported to the World Health Organization. Auckland entered a lower level of COVID-19 restrictions on Monday, allowing people to get in and out of the city, sparking concerns of further spreading the virus as some Aucklanders flew to resorts such as Queenstown in South Island when restrictions relaxed. Face coverings such as masks become compulsory on public transport across New Zealand from Monday. The Turkish economy has shrunk by nearly 10% in the second quarter of 2020 as the COVID-19 outbreak seriously disrupted industrial activity and exports, according to official data published on Monday. Turkey's economy decreased by 9.9% year-on-year in the second quarter of 2020, the country's statistical authority announced. Gross domestic product stands as GDP at current price amounted to 1.4 trillion Turkish lira, which is about 141.45 billion US dollars in the April-June period, according to the Turkish Statistical Institute. The Turkish economy grew by 4.5% year-on-year in the first quarter of 2020, propelled by a lending spree just before the pandemic, with a sharp downturn beginning in mid-March. A partial lockdown and strict restrictions followed. However, the contraction announced is less than forecast by economists who were expecting the emergent nation's economy to narrow by up to 13.5%. Treasury and Finance Minister hailed the growth data as a success for Turkey on his Twitter account, saying the economy had contracted at a slower pace than many developed countries, mentioning the United States and European Union. An economist from Istanbul's Terra Securities, which had forecast a contraction of 12.5%, linked the massive shrinking to business closures and lockdown measures. The industry seems to have shrunk by 16.5%, the construction sector by 2.7%, and services by 25%, he explained in a note to investors. He said that stimulus measures implemented by the Ankara government, such as credit push, interest rate cuts, and fiscal spending, had prevented a deeper contraction. In the second quarter, household consumption fell and exports dropped by 35.3% on an annual basis. Nevertheless, these same measures of the Turkish government to protect the country from the fallout of the global health crisis have had a negative effect on the ailing Turkish lira, who lost ground against the US dollar. The Turkish currency has depreciated nearly 20% against the greenback this year, fueling inflation and price hikes on essential goods. Japan is planning to hold an extraordinary parliamentary session on September 17, 2020, to pick the country's new prime minister to succeed Shinzo Abe, local media reported on Sunday. According to public broadcaster NHK, the ruling Liberal Democratic Party is expected to decide when and how to choose its next leader in a General Council meeting on Tuesday. Meanwhile, LDP top officials are making final agreements to have its members in both houses of the Diet meet around September 13 to 15 to choose the party's president. Then the party plans to call on extraordinary parliamentary session to elect the new prime minister on September 17, 2020, according to the report. Currently, LDP Policy Research Council Chairperson Fumo Kishida and former LDP Secretary General Shigeru Ishiba have shown interest in running in the party's presidential race. Chief Cabinet Secretary Suga is also seen a potential candidate. These were the latest updates from our local and international desk your way, but stay tuned as we'll be back tomorrow with more latest updates from both international and local desks. Stay tuned and keep watching TTV.
You've just heard the live feed from the TTV studios on TFM 95.4. Let's talk.